Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis, and in this video I want to cover an update that happened this season that some of you may know about, some of you may not, but it is one of those things that I want to let you know because not everybody thinks about the stat resilience. With good reason unless you are a Titan, and even Titans struggle to balance using it because typically it's not really that beneficial, but it changed to say the least. For Titans specifically, it reduces the cooldown of your class ability, increases the amount of damage you can take before dying, and increases your shield capacity. It's usually fairly minor in PvP. And this isn't going to make a huge difference in PvP, so I don't think it will. This is for the other things that you're going to be doing in the game. Now, when it comes to your class ability for other classes, Warlocks, you guys want recovery. This is going to increase the speed at which you regain lost health. Also for Warlocks, it's also going to help your recharge time for your Rift, which is always still beneficial. Hunters, yours is going to be mobility. Increases your movement speed, which is only ADS speed. It is not sprint speed. Everybody's sprint speed is the same. And also your maximum jump height. If you ever need to do a little bit of platforming or stretch a jump a little farther, get your mobility as high as you can. You'll actually feel a difference on that one. But resilience got to change this season, and it's one of those things that they kind of subtly put in there. People were messing with stats, and then all of a sudden we see this, and it gets a little crazy. Now, right now at like 34, it's not doing much. 3% is not very much. Now, I don't know if you guys know, if you put on these mods, reduce solar damage and void damage by, incoming damage. It's 25%. And then sniper damage. These are usually about 25%. Melee, concussive, there's usually about 25% for the singles. If you stack them, like this, for example, this turns into 40%. Just FYI. They should stack to my knowledge. If that changed, let me know. But normally these are going to be a good chunk of about 25%, which is going to help. Now, what you can do when you're running things like solo lost sectors, legend or master, running the dungeon, running any dungeon, trying to solo flawless, trying to solo anything. A lot of the things that I've done with you guys in previous guides are like, hey, here's this thing that you can do, and here's a guide so everybody can accomplish it. Do you want to run duality, but you don't have anybody to run with? You're like, I bought the content, but it's difficult for me to do. Again, I've just did a video over a very important mod. That one is one that you guys definitely should check out. It's about classy restoration, so sub to the channel and go find that one. But this is another one. Now, this is not one that you may fix instantly, but what you can do is you can actually change what your armor is looking for to help you work into this a little bit. So what you can do if you want to lean into resilience a little bit more, armor pieces with random stats you acquire will have a guaranteed minimum of 10 resilience and are more likely to drop with higher resilience. Depending on if you're running dungeons, pinnacles, powerfuls, whatever you're turning in, if you see a piece of gear, and typically your pinnacles and things like that, dungeon drops, raid drops, exotics, for example, you're going to see things that are going to be dropping with higher resilience if you choose resilience right here. If you want another stat like recovery or mobility or intellect, that's fine. But if you want to get some stats, some armor that has recovery, that's one of the ways that you can do that. So this may not be something that you can fix instantly, but if you're going to go focus farm armor, say in the helm, and you're going to spend some of your opulent energy, you want to go spend some of this, and you want to go get some armor, well, if you focus that armor, you can literally get pretty much a guaranteed 60-something roll. And then if you choose resilience armor, you're going to get a pretty high stat. For example, one of these that I did ended up like this. Now, you're not always going to see something like this. I think this one's a little high. So you're not always going to see it ridiculously high like that. But I mean, that's the type of focusing you're looking at. Even at just a 60 roll, the fact that I'm sitting here at like 26 resilience, a little ridiculous, but that's the idea. If you're looking for armor that has high resilience, and you don't have any, because for a while, most of us weren't stocking that up, that is one way to do it. But to get back to why this is important, you can see here at tier 3, 3%. Not a whole lot going on there. Well, let me put on my first piece of gear, and let's bump this up a little bit. Now we're up to tier 5. We're up to 8%. You're like, woo. I've put almost 60 points into this thing, and I've got 8% damage reduction. One mod over here is doing 25% damage reduction to solar and void by itself. Still not seeing the worth of it. Wow. Okay. Well, let's see if we get it a little bit higher. Which one was I using? Probably doesn't really matter. Now up to 69. We got 14%. Okay. We're talking a little bit. Now let me go ahead and put on this guy. 78. Now we're at 20%. 20% damage reduction for tier 7. That's not bad. Even if you can't really get all the way up to something like 100, which I'm going to show you what that looks like, 20% damage reduction just literally all the time. Also reduces the amount of damage you take when breaking out of stasis. Not often you face that, but every so often. Generally, 20% damage reduction is not a bad thing. This is pretty substantial, but to really take advantage of it, you've got to lean into it big. So if I put these boots on now, actually, or even these, now we're at 100. Actually, I probably won't jump that high quite yet. Now we're at 88. Now we're at 26%. Getting up there. Now if we go to this guy, and I swap a mod around, now we're at 93. You're at 32% damage reduction. Now we're putting in some work. So this is 32% damage reduction. Then you have solar and void resistance from that one mod, which is going to be a lot of the stuff you face this season. If you get an art piece, you can also get all 3 covered, depending on what's coming at you. Or if you feel like you need to focus into melee sniper, like for duality snipers for the final boss, melees for kind of the Galron fight, concussive depending on what you're fighting, if you got tanks or anything blowing up, you know, there's different ways to get yourself some resistance. So that's at 32%, and you guys can see where it's going to go when I max it out. Now we're at 105, but all you need to hit is 100. But it's 40% damage reduction. This is not something you should sneeze at. This is one of those ways to stay alive. Now, I already covered in that previous video, Classy Restoration, a great way for healing, but damage reduction in general is going to be a good thing. So if you're able to, one, get your resilience relatively high without sacrificing too much. You don't want your strength down at like 12, or your grenade at like 2, or your mobility at like crap. So, I mean, it could take you a little while to build up some armor that looks like this. But this is a recent change, so it's something I expect to stay in the game at least for a little while. Now, will it stay 40% indefinitely, or is this going to be something that could get nerfed? It could possibly get nerfed. It's definitely possible. I don't know if it's one of those things they test, they wonder, they kind of experiment with, and then they'll bring it back down. But it feels very intentional because it scales up very quickly. So if I take this one out, for example, and I come down to 87, so you go 40, 32, 26, and then if I mix it up here, of course I could probably just mess with it, and I bring this thing down even further, 82, and even at tier 7, again, 20%. So it's 40, 32, 26, 20. Those last 4 tiers, if you lean into that stat, finally has some benefit. And it will make a difference when you add these things together. And I know many of you who come to my channel are looking at ways to survive. You may not have teams to play with, and you do want to engage in a lot of this content. This is one of those ways that's going to help you do that. Now, again, if you're a hunter, you're still going to want probably a little recovery and definitely a decent amount of mobility for sure. So getting into resilience too high could be tough. But again, if you can get maybe to like tier 8, tier 9, and then maybe give up a little bit in recovery, you can give up some recovery with Classy Restoration. Go watch my other video about that one. Click on the link above right now, and you guys will see why. That one will help keep you alive. But resilience is a stat that actually matters now. So use your ghosts, throw on that resilience armor, and one of the easiest things you could do, depending on if you're farming for weapons, but if you want to get a couple pieces of armor, go find some armor that gets high in resilience. See how it feels. If you haven't been playing with a resilience build before, and now you have one, pair that with something like these mods that are going to lower your damage as well. And then with Solar 3.0, we got some pretty good options too. You can actually keep yourself fairly well alive, and it's one of those stats that used to not matter, but it definitely should now. So if you found this video informative, found somebody who may need to see this as well, send it to them, share it with them. If you enjoyed this one, drop a like below. Leave a comment below if you have a build, any thoughts about resilience, let me know. I'll read those. I'm going to be at GCX this weekend, but definitely feel free to hit me up on Twitch when I get back on Tuesday. If you want to find me on Twitch or Twitter, you guys can always find me there. It's Ebontis right here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, hit the alert bell. You guys can come hang out anytime in the comments or come hang out and stream. YouTube members and Patreon subs, thank you for that extra support. All of you are awesome. I'll see you soon.